All aboard the Annie train. Wow, that really doesn't sound nearly as good as the coal train does. Probably because the coal train is an actual thing and the Annie train isn't. Anyway, this is another requested episode by my friend Annie, or Animus, in case you didn't guess that already. Yeah, it started off. Hailing from Tampa, Florida, started off been around for just barely 10 years and have put out 3 albums, of which I'd only listened to one up to this point. That would be their 2016 third album, Upside Down. I first came across the band myself in late 2015/early 2016 when their song Ancient History appeared by chance on Kerrang TV. The times without a laptop may have been dark, but you can't say they didn't introduce me to some good bands. And started off well, pretty damn good. I'm about to tell you how damn good they are, or at least how damn good I think they are. With their mix of pop punk, symphonic elements, and some very good lyrics and a lot of experimentation, I'm more than happy to say that this is Backtracking, and this time it started off. So start off with their 2012 debut titled Cinematics. I will throw up a couple of quick disclaimers before I start talking about the album. I will say that all of their stuff was released through Equal Vision Records. I also had to do some digging to find a producer for this one, as I usually have a habit of assuming that it's just the band themselves when I really can't find a producer. Well, that's not the case for this one, and it turns out that research truly is the way forward. There were 2 producers for their debut, and those 2 are Zach Odom and Kenneth Mount. Also, another little disclaimer, I wound up listening to the deluxe re-release 2013 version of the album, and on that is the song Partners in Crime with a guest appearance from Ashley Costello from New Year's Day. I'd listened to that song long before I heard this album in full, but when it came to the album itself, I only listened up to the grand finale, which I believe is the album's closer anyway. It would make sense, what with the title being the grand finale and the fact that it's the 12th track on the album. Sticking with the bare band stuff, as I always like to do for this series, the album clocks in at just under 39 minutes, but with the expanded edition that's boosted to 53, but what can you do, is the only one I could find. Anyway, the album is pretty surprisingly dark. You have to remember, I got into the more modern-day poppy sounding started off. I wasn't quite so used to the angry, truly pissed-off version that I heard on this album. As a guy who likes most forms of surprise, that was one that I really enjoyed. I only listened to a couple of songs beforehand from this album before listening in full, and I want you guys to imagine my confusion. It's late 2016, and I just finished listening to Upside Down. A couple of weeks later, I stumbled across the song Nightmare from this album. I remember thinking to myself that the one constant theme for the band is theatricality. They constantly change musical styles, and they do it with such flair and in their own way that it becomes fun and enjoyable. Speaking of that consistency, this album might be the only one to stick to one sound and mostly stick to the tone. Not all songs sound angry, but most of them do, and there's enough of the kind of stuff to offset it and keep it well balanced. Heh, offset it. It also has this lovely pace to it, keeping the heavier parts heavy and the lighter parts light. I should also probably go through the lineup, so let's do that. Lead singer and pianist Cody Carson, lead guitarist and trumpet player Dan Claremont, rhythm guitarist Lecter Wall, bassist Austin Kerr, and drummer Max Danziger. Despite some lineup and instrumental changes that led up to the lineup at the time of this album, I'm not going to go over those because it'll take too long. I will say though that at the time, Max was the 4th drummer to join the band, making him the only member to not have founded the band. He's still pretty damn good behind the kit, and it sounds like he's having fun though. In fact, the whole band sounds like they're having fun. Cody's vocals are really diverse and have a good range, both his clean and singing and his screams, and his lyrics about betrayal, anxiety, and practice are told brilliantly, with some really nice spoken word stuff here and there as well. Pardon me. Zach and Dan are a good pair of guitarists, even with no solos, but their riffs and energy really keep a great pace. Austin's bass work isn't too shabby, and its groove and drive helps the more poppy side of things on the very rare occasions that it appears. And going back to Max, he's awesome on the kit with great timing and sweeps, and he just sounds like he's having fun. In fact, seeing him in music videos, he looks like he's having fun, so that's really cool. Standout songs include Nightmare, Distance Disturbs Me, Dad's Song, which is a really sweet one by the way, the great closer in the aptly titled The Grand Finale, and my favourite in Plastic Promises. With their debut, Set It Off proved that they were here to stay, with great songwriting, a balanced tone, nice symphonic elements and brilliant production. You can't go wrong. I can't recommend this one easily, despite the weird bit of darkness that newfound fans might be used to if they decide to go back to listen to it, but it's still really, really good. We then move on to their sequel, Duality. Released in 2014 and this time produced by Tommy English and Brandon Paddock, there are a lot of changes in terms of sound. The lineup is the same, and as I mentioned in the start, the first song I heard by the band was Ancient History. Well, that song is on this album. But yes, back to the sound itself. There aren't really any screams from Cody this time around, but he has improved a lot in his singing, changing notes on a dime and conveying his messages really easily. But let's talk about other stuff before winding down for this album in terms of the band and the songs I really liked. So, the signature set it off style, that's a really good tongue twister by the way, of fun is still there, but there is still a lot of angst and anger thrown out, and the album's title is fitting with the multiple tones, although I feel like schizophrenia would be a better description than duality. This is possibly the least traditional pop punk album I've ever heard. I don't know why I'm sounding a bit nasally, I'm sorry. With symphonic elements on one song, a more angry sound on the next song, then a mix of both on the song after that. For the band's shortest album, it sure does squeeze a lot of experimentation in there. Yes, the album is under 38 minutes, and it's strange to think that all of their albums stick to around the 40-minute mark, and the band are able to put a lot of different stuff in there within that time frame. Sure, maybe the great production helps with that, but that's not taking anything away from the band themselves. Anyway, there are guest appearances on this one. Ooh! First is William Beckett from the Academy is on the song Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, which is pretty much everyone's favourite start-off song, and former Mayday Parade co-lead vocalist Jason Lancaster appears on the song Tomorrow. And there's a couple of appearances there from a couple of really good singers from bands I've never listened to, but I probably might. Anyway, back to the album. There is still mostly a dark style to things, but there are much lighter influences. I mentioned the plethora of genres that they explore with this one, right? Well, those explorations are very well varied across the album's running time, tapping into so many great influences while still kind of sticking to that pop-punk/pop rock style. There are some heavier songs, some lighter songs, and despite its unpredictability, it's brilliantly well balanced. It never goes too far off steps with anything, and that's a really difficult thing to pull off. There's a very real chance that this album could have been a candidate for my top 10 albums of 2014 had I started listening to this band back then. Anyway, back to the sound. Its only true actual consistency is that it set it off performing the songs on the album, despite the fact that pretty much no song flows into the next one and the album constantly changes pace and tone and style. It does it so frequently without messing with your head or confusing you that it's actually really enjoyable. Well, that's how it was for me at least. Maybe that's due to the band themselves. Cody's screaming might be gone, but his clean singing adds so much more range, even using some faster singing on occasion, dabbling in a little bit of rap, but not too much. His lyrics of anxiety, youth, and relationships are told brilliantly well and told in a really fun way. Dan's scales have improved, and he gets... I was just making sure the camera was on. And he gets some great guitar solo work from time to time, although not as much as I would like, but still good. Zach's rhythm guitar maintains some great riffs of his own. Austin's bass work is stellar, bass work is stellar. Probably being shown the most on this album, and Max's drumming is hard-hitting, vibrant, and fun to listen to, as always. Standout songs include Forever Stuck in Our Youth, Ancient History, Why Worry, which I really do like, The Awesome Closure of Miss Mysterious, and my favourite in Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Like I said, it's pretty much everyone's favourite set-it-off song. Duality is an album in a constant state of flux that just gets better as it goes along, with so many changing moods, genres, and structures, balanced so well with awesome production, performances, and really smart lyrics. I can recommend this one very much. I really enjoy it. And finally, we reach their third album, Upside Down. Released in 2016, produced only by Brandon Paddock this time, well, from what I could look up. I do have some facts about this one. So this was my first set-it-off album, as I mentioned in the intro. Another fact is that this is their longest album at 41 minutes long. It doesn't seem like that long of a time frame, but I'll get to more on that later. There are also a couple of changes this time around. First is the lineup, as Austin Kerr left the band sometime in 2015. Excuse me. This led to Zach having to pull double duties, both rhythm guitarist and bassist, but I think it'd be easier to bring in a new member on either instrument rather than have one guy play both. You know, like Get Scared did. Regardless, this wasn't too much of a hindrance, and Zach picked it up pretty easily. Another change is the overall sound. There is still a diverse range of things, but the biggest difference is in tone. There are still some slightly more aggressive sounding songs, but that's only in terms of vocals and lyrics rather than the actual instrumental stuff. It's a bit stripped down and laid back, but it results in an album that draws on more influences from pop and even more rapping, with the production surprisingly not going too overboard with things. It does help to make the album just sound a lot happier. Having said that, whilst it is more positive, it just feels a bit less energetic to me. this sense of emptiness to me. Much like the first album, it sticks to a good tone most of the time, and much like the second album, it switches through styles effortlessly, adding in a lot of great stuff to keep things well balanced. But the trouble is with the instruments. They feel really barren and stripped down. It's fair to say that Cody's voice gets the lion's share of the limelight when it comes to the album, but even then, that's a bit touch and go. Even when the other band members do get to shine, it's on the more repetitive songs. In all honesty, I don't hate the album, and there is a lot to like about it, but it does unfortunately suffer from a little bit of overproduction and not having a proper bassist. It kind of feels like the band is missing something here, and that something was Austin Kerr. As I said, I have no issue with Zach taking over as bassist as well as rhythm guitarist, but his riffs are a bit more lacking. I guess it's more frustrating that there's more of a pop influence and less of a symphonic one. The thing is, with experimentation, sometimes it lands and other times it doesn't. Kind of like satire in a way. This album is still as diverse as Duality, but not nearly as energetic or memorable to me. Besides Austin, the album just feels like it's missing something, and I really can't quite put my finger on it. The band themselves don't turn in bad performances either, so it's not their fault. Cody's vocals are great and his rapping is good, with nice multi-syllable lines and a really good rhyming scheme, but he does lose some of the range he showcased on previous albums, specifically on Duality. Dan's riffs are good, as are Zach's, but the overproduction makes everything sound too robotic and samey. This isn't isolated either, as Cody suffers from that as well, and so does Max. His drumming literally just sounds like a drum machine, which I really don't like. Max sounds awesome when he hits the kit hard and he has fun, so let him do that, please. Standout songs include Uncontainable, which isn't an actual word by the way, Hypnotize, the title track, Tug of War, and my favourite in Never Know. There is some good to Upside Down, but it does suffer from the odd repetitive beat, lyric, and rhythm, and it feels a little bit overstuffed from time to time. I have more of a mixed feeling towards this album than a negative one. I can't recommend it, but I'm really on the fence about it. So, of the three albums, this is the one I would not listen to on a desert island, if that's the case, if that makes sense. It's that kind of thing. So, that's it for Started Off. Well, it is for now, at least. I mean, there are only 3 albums out, there's bound to be more. My favourite album was easily Duality, great production, tons of energy, lots of different tones and styles, and all blended together really, really well without getting too confusing. Least favourite is possibly Upside Down. It's not a terrible album, but it suffers from a little bit of overproduction and just feeling kind of stale compared to previous work, like it's nothing we haven't heard before. Anyway, that does about wrap it up. Join me next time for a special tribute retrospective episode as I cover Chris Cornell. First will be Soundgarden, then his own work, and then Audio's Life to cap it all off, because those are the order in which he started those projects. Now, it will not actually be a 3-part episode, as I'll be writing and releasing the episodes as their own thing, talking about the respective bands and such. So, the one for Soundgarden is going to come out, then I'm going to take a little bit of time off to write the Chris Cornell episode, then a bit of time off after that to write the Audio's Live episode. So that makes sense. It won't be all 3 in a row, and it will be a bit more spaced out. I think that will make it a bit easier, because, like I said, it's not a proper 3-part episode. That will be the finale, Meatloaf. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy it when I do put that out, because that's one I feel like I kind of have to do. And I'll see you all then. And, as always, thank you for listening.